Martin. Today we focus on the life and legacy of Muhammad Ali. He was unapologetically black. He was unapologetically Muslim. He was someone who forced America to accept him for who he was. Over the next hour, we'll break down his impact on Black America, on the world. We'll hear from many folks who knew him well, including Reverend Jesse Jackson Sr., Spike Lee, Susan Taylor, Rock Newman, Dr. Greg Carr, journalist Soraya McDonald, as well as Kevin Blackerstone, also Diddy Baye. Folks, Dick Gregory will also join us as well. We have a packed hour, but we will give you the black view of the great Muhammad Ali. That's next on News One Now on TV1. Folks, today I'm broadcasting live from Memphis, Tennessee at the ABC affiliate. This is also the home of the National Civil Rights Museum. It's also the place where the Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. was killed April 4th, 1968. All that is important because Muhammad Ali, who passed away on Friday, was one of the most important figures of the 1960s, but also 70s, 80s, 90s, and you name it, all the way up until his death Friday at the age of 74. He was an unbelievable fighter. He called himself the greatest, a moniker that many folks also accepted. Many folks, once word passed about his death, were stunned, even though he had been in declining health for the last 32 years due to Parkinson's disease. But the reality is that over the course of his young career, the man born Cassius Clay talked so much, said so much, but the reality is we knew exactly who he was, even when he could no longer talk. We put together, folks, this quick video of Muhammad Ali and also the voices of many people who reacted to his death on Friday. Take a look.
Kevin, what are we going to do? You're going to float like a butterfly and sting like a bee.
Muhammad Ali is something you would never see. I met the most nice looking, the most handsome guy I'd ever met in my life. And he was a boxer. I mean, he belongs to the arts. He belongs to politicians. And he belongs to science. What a phenomenon. It's something we won't see again. I can tell you that.
We won't stop fighting until there's a cure.
I'm still there. I believe I make a comeback.
Before I was diagnosed with Parkinson's, I admired him, and I admired his athleticism, his poise, his class, his style, his stoicism, his belief in what he follows right.
I am the greatest.
He was always the life of the party, very much his own man, and a very funny guy. And he enjoyed all of the interactions that he had with people. He felt that he could win them over.
I knocked out Freddie Liston. I knocked out Bobby Crawford.
When I was a boy, and I saw him box the first time, I thought, we're looking at something we may never see again.
If you like to lose your money and then be a fool and bet on Friday.
It was like watching somebody you couldn't decide, is this guy a boxer or a ballerina?
Or a dancer, yeah.
The way he moved, the speed, the grace, the power, I knew it was something magical.
I shook up the world!
The reason that Ali struck a chord in the hearts of so many Americans was not just his great boxing skill. It was his incredible courage. At a time when it was not popular to do so.
My intention is to box to win a clean fight. But in war, the intention is to kill, and continue killing innocent people.
Respect my brother, my brother is wonderful. He loves all people. He was a champion, world champion. Oh my God, he loved God, people. He loved mankind.
Folks, he was born Cassius Marcellus Clay, January 17th, 1942, in Louisville, Kentucky. Of course, he earned the name the Louisville Lip because, well, let's just say, he sure talked a lot, brought lots of recognition to that city in 1960 when he won a gold medal at the Rome Olympics. But it also was the place where he threw that gold medal into the river after he was turned away by whites at a restaurant there in Louisville, Kentucky. Folks, as we said, he died on Friday in a Phoenix, Arizona hospital surrounded by all of his family. This is video of the body of Muhammad Ali being flown back to Louisville, where the funeral will take place. A public funeral will take place on Friday in the arena there. Joining us right now via FaceTime from Louisville is Hall of Fame journalist of the National Association of Black Journalists, Betty Baye, longtime columnist at the Louisville Courier-Journal. And Betty, certainly Louisville is mourning its greatest citizen today.
Yes, it is. And they've been mourning ever since Friday. And people have been calling me as if a member of my family died, offering their condolences, friends from around the country, asking, how the city is doing. And we're doing fine. We're preparing. And of course, as you said, Muhammad had been sick for some time, but it was a blessing for me to experience him live when he was well and beautiful and healthy and happy. And I think everybody here has their Muhammad Ali stories, because he was indeed a man of the people. And I never thought, when I sat around that radio listening to him in that Sonny Liston fight with my mother and father back in '64, that one day I would actually live in Louisville. But I've had several interactions with him over the years, including the first time back in the '70s when he kissed me on my cheek at an OIC meeting, and I said I was never going to wash my face. He was absolutely so beautiful, just a beautiful man. And I just have a lot of recollections of him coming to the newspaper one day. He just came and sat in the lobby the Courier-Journal lobby, and he had these Islamic books that he must have bought cartons of them, and he was just giving them away and signing them for people. And he signed 2 for me. And he sat there like for a couple of hours, and finally I went to him and I said, would you like something to eat? Aren't you hungry? And he said, yes. And I went up to the cafeteria and got him something to eat. And when I came back down with the food, he said, I'm going to marry you. And I said, oh, is it my turn now? And he just laughed. And then he came up to the newsroom. He did magic tricks. He levitated, because he did magic. And he levitated, just had the whole newsroom cracking up. But in that lobby, there was a group of little kids on tour. I know those children were not born when Muhammad Ali was fighting, but when they saw him, they crowded around him. The lobby turned into mayhem, and it was good mayhem, because he loved the children, and they loved Muhammad.
One of the things that we often have heard about Muhammad Ali is, at the end of the day, how much of a people person he was. And the reality, Betty, he loved everybody, but he absolutely loved Black people.
Yes, he did. And, one of the things about being the age that I am, it was beautiful being Black in the 60s and being in Harlem. We got to experience it all. Malcolm X, was there. Martin Luther King came there. Everybody came through Harlem. And so Muhammad Ali was a part of that. I have to tell you, though, when we listened to that fight, my dad didn't like that Cassius Clay. He said, why is that boy talking so much? Why don't he just fight? And so I think Daddy, like a lot of people, came around to loving him. But he was certainly there for us, and many of us were there for him when he needed us. But a lot of us weren't, because we just didn't understand that war protests. There was still the World War II generation, and they had fought in World War II, so they didn't quite get that dodging the draft, because for them it was a privilege to serve. They wanted to show that we were okay. But when people understood what Muhammad Ali stood for, when he said, no Viet Cong ever called me nigger. The things that he said are precious, and they're going to be quoted for years to come. And we have had a great loss. I was just at the Muhammad Ali Center 3 weeks ago, and anybody who hasn't come to Louisville to see the center really ought to go and see. It's very interactive, and you feel Muhammad in the place. They have the films. You can box with him in the ring. They've got one of the lunch counters where they said, we don't serve no niggas in here. All the parts of his life. And I think it's just a really important thing for us to have in this city. And the fact that it even took so long to get built is kind of a shame. But we do have it now, and people ought to come and just experience Muhammad Ali in the way that they can, when he was beautiful and not sick and was able to speak for himself.
Betty, of course, the funeral will take place on Friday at 2 p.m. Former President Bill Clinton, journalist Brian Gumbel, Billy Crystal, among the folks who will be offering eulogies. Give our listeners a sense of where that funeral will take place, how massive a facility it will be for this public funeral.
Yes, it's going to be at the Yum Center, and the Yum Center is the KFC Yum Center is where the U of L basketball team plays. You know, we're a crazy basketball town here. It has 22,000 seats, and they're going to be, as I understand it, a ticketed event. So everybody's trying to figure out how they can score tickets to come. But I think that it'll be big enough to accommodate all the celebrities that will be in town, but also I think for many of the public people to come. But there's also going to be a celebration at his family home, which has now been restored in the west end of Louisville, the black end of Louisville, which will probably bring more white people to West Louisville than have been in quite some time on Grand Avenue. So there'll be lots of opportunities for the motorcade, to see the motorcade, to go to the public ceremony, and to go to all the other ceremonies around town to honor him.
Got it. All right, Betty Baye, of course, Hall of Fame journalist, National Association of Black Journalists, longtime columnist, Louisville Courier Journal. We appreciate you joining us. Thanks a lot.
Thank you, Roland.
Thanks a lot, folks. See my panel there in D.C., Dr. Greg Carr of Howard University, head of the Afro-American Studies Department, Saraya McDonald. She is a culture writer for the Undefeated.com, ESPN's black website. Also joining us is Rock Newman, longtime boxing manager and who knew Muhammad Ali well. I want to start with you, Dr. Greg Carr. We're going to talk about Ali in different phases today, civil rights, also from a culture standpoint, from a sports standpoint. But the reality is, it was his unapologetically black position where he told America, you are going to accept me for who I am, and I'm not going to somehow change who I am to make you feel better and comfortable. That, to me, I think is a defining aspect of the late, great Muhammad Ali.
Absolutely, Roland. To quote W.E.B. Du Bois in describing a cat from your part of the country, from Texas, Jack Johnson, he said he's unforgivably black. From Johnson to Joe Louis to Muhammad Ali, what you see is a stretch of boxers who not only personified the image of black masculinity in a pugilist sport, obviously, but also transcended the ring. And in the case of Muhammad, what you see is someone, frankly, whose black internationalism, fueled by his love for black people, made him too big for the country. His stance against the Vietnam War is a direct consequence of the Nation of Islam. Make no mistake about it. In no nation, Muhammad would not have said, I'm not going to Vietnam. And finally, in some ways, when you look at him, you're seeing Malcolm X. Because he really idolized Malcolm. Even though he criticized Malcolm and lived to, of course, regret that, his internationalism transcended the boundaries of the country, so that now, Karl Heinz, when he says, let us praise him now that he is safely dead, when talking about Malcolm X, could be talking about Ali. Because it seemed like now they're trying to put him back in this small box, but he was much bigger than that, and you're right, it was fueled by his love for our people.
Well, we're going to explore that much deeper on the show. Also, we'll touch on this whole issue, and I'm sure you got some comments on that. I know I do, on this whole notion that somehow Muhammad Ali transcended his race, even though he made it perfectly clear he always wanted to be defined as a black man and as a Muslim. Folks, over the next hour, we'll focus more on this. Again, we'll talk to Saraya McDonald with the Undefeated. We'll talk to Rock Newman as well. We'll also hear from a number of people. I talked to people here in Memphis, as well as I went to Harlem to get reaction about the death of Muhammad Ali. We have all of that, but coming up next, a simulcast on the Tom Joyner Morning Show. We hear from director Spike Lee, who directed the Oscar-nominated film When We Were Kings, about the Ali George Foreman fight in Zaire. Folks, all of that right here as we remember the late great Muhammad Ali on News One Now on TV1.
Oh, wow, man. I've been a boxing fan for pretty much primary all of my life, and love what Muhammad Ali did for us as a people, man, and for the boxing world, man. It's a huge loss for us. Love Muhammad Ali.
Are you? Hey, folks, welcome back to News One Now on TV1, of course, where we are focused on the life and legacy of Muhammad Ali. In just one moment, will be on the Tom Joyner Morning Show, talking with Director Spike Lee about Muhammad Ali. So Tom, are you there? So guys, pull up Tom Joyner for me. Okay, so guys, I need y'all to figure that out, please. So Tom, are you there? All right, then. So we need to figure out what's going on there with Tom Joyner. In just a moment, we talk with Spike Lee. So let me go to Greg Carr real quick. First of all, here we go. Now we got Tom Joyner. So Tom, do we have Spike Lee?
No, not yet.
So folks, again, like the simulcast again on the Tom Joyner Morning Show. So just bear with us for just 1 second.
From our Washington, D.C. studio, Roland Martin, good morning.
Hey, Tom, how you doing? I'm actually from Memphis, Tennessee today, and so certainly glad to be with you. We're also live on pt1 right now, reflecting on the life and legacy of Muhammad Ali. Just a moment, we'll be joined by Spike Lee here on the Joyner Show. But Tom, I got to ask you, for our television audience, you had a totally different connection with Muhammad Ali that's more personal than any of us. Okay, guys in the studio. I'm getting some audio in my ear. NBC, please kill that so I can talk to Tom, please. So Tom Joyner, can you hear me? Guys, I can't hear Tom, so I don't know is Tom Joyner there? Okay, I apologize, folks. I don't know what's going on. I was just hearing Tom Joyner there, so I don't know what happened. We lost him, so my apologies. Greg Carr, please. Greg Carr, please take it away. And communicate, please. Excuse me. I want to go to Rock Newman. Rock Newman, share your thoughts about the great Muhammad Ali.
The greatest of all time. Let's start there, and let's make sure when we start and when we end that we understand that he was a black man, a Muslim, a revolutionary, as Dr. Carr said, taught by Malcolm X, but also taught by Elijah Muhammad. I know unquestionably there will be an effort to sanitize him and to whitewash him. Let's not forget what made him great, and that was he was a black man that had the courage, the intestinal fortitude to stand up in a time still of Jim Crow and say to white America, look, I can love everybody. I love my people. I want to elevate them. You never have thought or heard that Ali said, I don't like white people. What he didn't like was white supremacy and oppression. And he fought to change that harder than he ever fought in the ring. And that's why the world loves it.
Soraya, again, about his fierce stance fighting the United States government.
Yes, well, I mean, it was obvious that he was committed to these values that he had, and he wasn't going to let go of them. I mean, sacrificing, 3 years from the prime years of his boxing career. This was obviously something that was truly important to him, and a fight that he took all the way to the Supreme Court, where, they ultimately recognized that he had a right to abstain from the Vietnam War because of his religion. In fact, the precedent that they looked at to determine that was actually a case involving Jehovah's Witnesses. And they said, well, if Jehovah's Witnesses can are allowed to declare themselves as conscientious objectors from war, and you have to separate that from sort of a theoretical, like, war of God. Then you have to do the same thing for the Nation of Islam. You have to respect that in the same way. They recognize that, but then, oddly enough, the reason that Muhammad Ali was actually they overturned the decision from the Solicitor General, basically to try to imprison Ali. They made a very distinct, in the decision that they wrote, they made it very distinct that this was only supposed to apply to him, by saying that basically the Solicitor General had made a mistake in saying that first he had been insincere in his commitment to the Nation of Islam, and then in a different argument saying that he had been sincere. And basically they used that to say that that he had not been afforded due process.
So I'll give you just 1 second. So we back with Tom Joyner, folks?
Raised by a single mom, so it definitely has something to do with where we are now.
Were you in Atlanta when they had the exhibition fight and they gave him back his license and he became?
No.
You weren't in school then?
I was not at Morehouse yet.
Oh, okay.
I was doing but I do remember that first. I was in junior high school. The first of the three fights against Joe Frazier, and I was sick for a month after he lost the fight. But I have to admit, though, I felt an okie doke because I believe what Muhammad Ali said that Joe Frazier was Uncle Tom and all this stuff.
Yeah, we sure did.
And
hey, Spike,
that really hurt. Joe took that to his grave, and Muhammad Ali vilified him. And of course, they put that aside.
Yeah.
After many years, but I really had to.
Hey, Spike.
Oh, and just real quick though, Madison Square Garden. Joe Frazier took the nickname. One game I went up to him and I told him, like, look, man, Ali got me, but I love you. I gave him a big hug. He said, that's okay, Spike. I understand.
Called him a gorilla.
Spike, when you did When We Were Kings, just how personal was that for you?
I did not direct. I was just in it. Oh, it was very, Muhammad Ali is one of the...
Go ahead, I'm sorry.
I mean,
that documentary really told an amazing story.
Yes. I mean, people need to hope they read, I hope people go out and, especially new generation, they need to see this documentary, When We Were Kings. Amazing documentary. And it's another big loss.
The Rumble. Wow.
Yeah. All right.
Spike Lee, we appreciate it. Thank you so very much.
And the irony is they were celebrating Prince this weekend. Spike was leading.
Yeah, we had a big block party for Prince in Brooklyn, and Reverend Earl came out and he said a prayer for Prince and Muhammad Ali. So it was joy and pain.
Mm-hmm.
Joy and pain.
What a year.
All right.
Thank you.
Thanks, Spike.
Thanks a lot, Spike Lee. All right, folks. So sorry about that. Again, we had some technical issues there, trying to do television and radio at the same time. I'm going to go to a break right now. We're going to come back. We're going to hear from Chuck D, Susan Taylor, Sarai McDonald, Greg Carr, Rock Newman, and others. Later, I'm talking about Muhammad Ali later in the show. Reverend Jesse Jackson Sr., Dick Gregory will also talk about his impact in the area of civil rights and his relationship with the Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. We'll also talk with Kevin Blackstone, journalist for ESPN, also about the boxing legacy. Let's not forget that of the great Muhammad Ali. All of that right here on News 1 Now on TV1.
He was intelligent. He was one of the first black people representing, I'd say, outspokenness, which really sang to my heart.
Well, welcome back to our News 1 Now TV1 tribute to Muhammad Ali, who passed away on Friday at the age of 74. He was more than just a boxer. He was more than just an activist. He also was a cultural icon. Susan Taylor, longtime editor-in-chief of Essence Magazine, now with National Care's Mentoring Project, joins us right now, sharing her thoughts and reflections on Muhammad Ali. And Susan, when we think about his dress, we think about his looks, we think about all of those things, you're talking about somebody who was an iconic cultural figure who crossed multiple lanes in our world.
You know, indeed. And when I think about him, I think about all those things you just mentioned, Roland, but also his powerful stand for justice. And I don't think it was ever more evident, you know, who the soul of Muhammad Ali, what he stood for, how he stood so strongly for us than it was when he just refused to be drafted into the armed forces that day in Houston on April 28, 1967. And then, you know, he was speaking at a rally in his hometown of Louisville, Kentucky, and he just said so boldly and clearly that, you know, he wasn't going to put on a uniform and travel 10,000 miles from home to drop bombs on brown people while black people in Louisville were treated like dogs. And he was speaking at a rally for fair housing. You know, he said that he refused to become a tool, and just profoundly stated, and I come back to this repeatedly and have over the years, if I thought the war was going to bring freedom and equality to 22 million of my people, they wouldn't have to draft me. I'd join tomorrow. He had nothing to lose, he said, by giving up his championship crown. Not many people would have done that, you know. He said that, you know, I'm going to jail. If I go to jail, so what? We've been in jail for 400 years. Muhammad Ali.
So, Susan, one of the things that I found to be also interesting is that when he talked about his good looks, people said, oh, he's bragging, he's being bodacious. But the other thing is this here. This is a man who understood how the image of black folks was being sent out across the world. And so when he made those comments, remember, that was in the early 60s. You get to the late 60s, you hear, say it loud, I'm black and I'm proud. You hear the slogan, black is beautiful. And so really, he was affirming the looks of black people, saying with his hair, with his face. So that wasn't just bragging and being bodacious. That was him telling the world, I'm affirming the beauty of black folks.
You know, Roland, I think that no matter what Muhammad Ali looked like, he would have said those same things. Because what he did was he used humor. He used humor to really bring the media to him. He was the only athlete who would dare speak so clearly and boldly and humorously and not bow down to the media. So he said whatever he felt. He was humorous. He was a poet. He was bold. He was brave. He was brash and beautiful and tender. You know, that's the piece that we can't forget either. He was so very tender. You know, one day I was walking along Park Avenue on my way to the New York Hilton Hotel, and I saw him in the window of a car showroom. It used to be on like 56th Street and Park Avenue, and I think it was either Mercedes or Bentley. And he was in there with another brother, and I walked in and I introduced myself. I was the fashion and beauty editor at Essence